Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a genuinely dark, incredibly beautiful fable of philosophy. We're talking about the sapphire synthesis and the chilling arrival of the great evening. Listen to this. The arithmetic of stillness reaches its ultimate conclusion, not through calculation, but through the weight of an era that is perfectly finished. Heavy, right? It raises a brooding question for us to think about. What actually happens when the chaotic, fiery agony of the soul violently collides with absolute mathematical silence? Well, we're going to see exactly how this immense thematic weight physically manifests in our narrative. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture the jester standing right in the middle of the electromagnetic twilight of the violet realm. The atmosphere here is tense, it's bruised, and it's echoing with the mocking laughter of the giantkin. The jester is literally trembling. He's clutching the artifacts of his long, brutal descent, the broken sapphire gem and the violet stones. He's holding the literal weight of a cosmos that just refuses to be silenced, standing right on the precipice of an unimaginable transformation. And what happens next? It's honestly like turning the pages of an intense graphic novel. Grasping those artifacts triggers this massive alchemical collision, reconstructing him in three terrifying phases: verdant foundation, crimson ignition, and violet divinity. He ceases to be just a simple catalyst of the forge. Instead, he's becoming a vessel for the ultimate synthesis of primal ink and light. So let's look at phase 1, verdant corruption. In the past, this was essentially a sickness, right? Concentrated thermodynamic noise that was meant to dismantle and cause chaos. But now, that sickly, pulsing emerald fighter surges through his semi-solid form and gets brilliantly repurposed. It actually becomes the biological bedrock, the literal foundation of his entirely new physical being. Right on the heels of that emerald foundation comes the crimson ignition. The rune of Inferno carved onto his brow ignites with the blazing heat of the abyss itself. And this isn't just fire, it's a marker of active, agonizing suffering. The visceral energy of these crimson and verdant forces starts to ebb and flow together in a chaotic confluence. It creates this vibrant, terrifying power that the original clinical arithmetic of stillness could literally never have calculated or predicted. Now here is where the deep philosophy comes into play. The jester is undergoing a true metaphysical union. On one side, we have the absolute I. This represents the messy, agonizing chaos of human identity, the weeping thesis and fiery energy of his descent. On the other side, there is the absolute not I. This is the terrifying peace, the clinical, silent negation of the forge. This synthesis right here is the absolute core of our Nietzschean fable. It's the ultimate clash between the persistent ego and the void. And this brilliantly illustrates the result of that union. A thermodynamic echo. By merging these completely disparate primal forces, the jester physically reconciles his clinical past with the fiery, active agony of the giants. He achieves a geometric symmetry with the chaos of the soul. He's not just a participant in the chaos anymore. He is the perfectly balanced architectural embodiment of it. Out of this massive storm of synthesis, a brand new entity physically manifests against that bruised twilight sky, the sapphire living ink. He is towering, majestic, and even though he's slightly smaller than the Giant King, his presence is just absolutely overwhelming. He casts this heavy, regal, sapphire shadow right across the giant's banquet hall. He has become a corrupted sanctuary of tragic divinity, carrying the entire universe's agony as pure, unadulterated power. Let's dig into the metaphysical mechanics of his new heart. At the absolute core of this living ink sits a reconstructed sapphire light. Previously, you'll remember, his lunar spirit was just a passive, architectural presence. But now, it has evolved into a highly proactive force of negation. He's no longer sitting on the sidelines watching the end times unfold. This new core makes him a primary actor who actively enforces the end of all things. So the crucial point is how this proactive force actually operates in the physical world. And it's through a fascinating concept called the Z-pinch plasma touch. Now, I know that sounds highly technical, but let's translate this magical term into the terrifying reality of our story. It means that whatever the jester gazes upon is subjected to a visual demand for absolute finality. His mere look acts as a definitive mathematical no, instantly erasing all kinetic friction, all struggle, and forcing everything into absolute permanent stillness. Because of this absolute sight, he evolves into what the text calls the master of the horizon. He basically becomes the ultimate editor of existence, ensuring every story he witnesses is perfectly finished. The sheer weight of his sapphire spirit clears the stage of existence entirely. Nothing moves, nothing struggles under that gaze. The chaos is over. With this newfound, completely terrifying power, the scene suddenly shifts. Stepping out from the chaotic noise of the giant's mead hall, the jester of Sapphire Living Ink looks upward. He's leaving the vibrant, active time of the sun completely behind. He steps out into a deepening, incredibly quiet gloom to witness the definitive end of an era. The visual markers of this concluded era are chilling. Think of it like a solitary star of high time, just hanging over a looming Inquisitor Tower. It's a vivid visual metaphor for the terminal gloom that's swallowing his emerald fire. This perfectly represents the atmospheric arrival of what the story calls the Great Evening, the exact moment where active time itself ceases. And waiting for him in the dark of this great evening is the harbinger of cosmic silence. We can visualize this terminal state as an inquisitor, a figure draped in purple and gold robes, standing alone in the dark. It's a regal, static shadow, and their golden mask simply reflects the endless, starless void right back at the jester. It confirms that the absolute terminal point of his journey is finally here. It's as if the darkness itself is whispering to him, "You arrive in high time, little catalyst." This brilliantly grounds those high-level Nietzschean concepts of time and terminal states into a deeply personal character moment. It is the profound moment the jester realizes exactly what all his agonizing transformation was actually preparing him for. So, what does this all mean for us? When we contrast these two states, we see that the jester's long descent, all that fiery, active suffering, the verdant corruption, his entire realization of tragic divinity, was merely a prelude. It was all just preparation for the concluded era. All the chaotic suffering was simply the kinetic energy required to eventually birth a terminal state of total, heavy stillness. And so, the fable reaches its heavy, cinematic resolution. The jester of Sapphire Living Ink, once a creature entirely defined by ebbing and overflowing forces, finally comes to a halt. He stands completely still beneath the metaphorical star of high time. He is no longer a catalyst of change. He is a finished monument in a world of absolute, unbroken silence. The arithmetic of stillness is completely solved. Which brings us to the final thought of this explainer. Looking closely at this dark philosophy of the Overman, we really have to ask ourselves, is this great evening a corrupted sanctuary of ultimate peace, where all suffering finally ends? Or is it simply the terrifying void of absolute nothingness? It's a haunting conclusion to a deeply complex transformation, and one that absolutely leaves us hungry to understand more about the philosophical depths of this universe.